And Painting Plus also along for the ride today. It's 9:14 here on Tree Country 1330.
All right, so WTRE became locally owned and operated in October 2010. Some background, when we became aware that the owner was willing to sell, Kathy Versman, Mark Gravely, and I set out to try and put the funds together. And oh, we had to try. I'm telling you. I don't know if you remember any of that, Emily, because I heard you say you were a baby back then.
I was a baby, but I do remember it, yes.
All right. So I was hired in 1982. Mark ended up at WTRE when I had my gallbladder out. Kathy was hired by Bob Bostic. Just a little background on the three of us. The station wasn't new to Kathy's family, though, because her daughter Emily, right here with us, came to WTRE through a work program when she was in high school. Were you a junior, Emily?
I think so. Junior or senior.
Okay. And that was at Waldron?
Waldron.
Okay.
That was your classmate, remember, was my teacher.
I know. And funding was a challenge, obviously. Joe Mormon with the Napoleon State Bank was working with us, and if memory serves me correctly, I think he had given up on being able to help. And then we're going to talk about some of the challenges you faced when you finally found what would work. We have Joe Mormon in with us, the Napoleon State Bank president, and
Yes.
you were the loan officer when we first met, right?
Right. I was the branch manager and the head lender in Decatur County here. Yes.
And that was when there was one location.
One location.
We're going to get into about
yes.
your expansion, too. Laura Lippmer with Ford Abstract. Obviously, we spent a lot of time that day in your office signing papers after papers after papers. And I'm glad you brought the deed to us. So we now have the official deed. I know we have it in our files, but I'm glad you brought that along with us. So, Joe, if you would, let's start off with talking about the challenges that you faced in trying to make this radio station here in Greensburg locally owned and operated.
Yeah, so I mean, the three of you, I remember, I can almost remember when you guys came in, and I'm just like, okay, how do you finance a radio station? And so we worked through some challenges. I came up with one plan. We was looking through SBA. You guys weren't real comfortable with that. I kept doing research and researching, and finally found another program out there, which was a 504 program, where we could. It was another product of SBA through Indiana Statewide, and so after several months of us working together and finally getting something we thought would work, we finally got a plan put together. And then my next challenge was I was going to have to convince my board that this was a good loan. And they're like going, okay, well, it is a radio station. Not sure how that all protects, but in the end, we felt, well, we are a community bank, and we felt that this radio station was vital to the community, and we didn't want to see it go away. And through all the efforts and everything else between the bank and SBA and Indiana Statewide, we was able to make this a reality about 15 years ago.
So now I remember Les Kessens.
Yes.
He was
president at that time.
He was president at that time. 'Cause I remember him at the groundbreaking when you broke ground there on 421.
Yeah.
Then, if you look at, I was going to mention somebody else you just said. Not Les.
I said the board of directors.
The board of directors. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
And Steve Gookins, who's
Steve Gookins
no longer
was on
with
that.
us.
You're right.
But Steve, he was on the board at the time, wasn't he?
Yes, he
and
was.
Steve would have been familiar with us because at that time we covered Jacksonville school board meetings.
Oh,
and he
okay.
was the superintendent of the school board of the school at that time. So anyway, so Joe, were we your first client, your first business that qualified for that type of loan, or that you had that type of loan for, or were you new to that loan?
We were just new to that program. I'd just done some research trying to figure out different ways, and I found that program, and I did more research on it and talked with Indiana Statewide, and they explained it better to me, and that's when we felt that this would be a good fit. I mean, it protected us a little bit more on a risky situation with SBA being involved, and and since that time we've done several of those types of loans to help out other businesses that maybe we couldn't have helped out. So I mean, it is a good program, and is a big plus for stuff like this.
And I've heard businesses in the community say that they were helped that way through the bank, through the Napoleon State Bank. Do you, with the property, being out here with us having close to 10 acres, that was probably a help with a venture such as this.
Definitely, yes.
Because there was some property to go along. And that's where we're going to get into Laura Littmer, because then she enter Ford Abstract and the services that they do and provide. So, Joe, are you happy you did that several years ago?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been a good working relationship with all of us. So, and we've done a few other things with you and Kathy on the side on some other things to enhance the radio station as well. And so yes, it's been good. I mean, it was a challenge. It was a fun challenge. So and it was okay. I got to make this work, and we did.
And you did, because we had almost given up hope at that point,
Yes.
because it just.
It took close to a year.
Yeah.
Probably,
finalize
I'd
it,
say
yeah.
yes.
And I remember that phone call when you called and said, "I think I found something that will work." I remember that like it was yesterday, where you said that. Again, Emily, you were off in college probably, so you heard everything.
No,
from
I was
us.
here, I think.
You were here.
Yeah, I wrote the business plan, my friend.
Oh, you did? That's right.
I did, yes.
That's right. I'll get into that then later with you.
Okay.
You were, because we needed the business plan
For the SBA.
because the SBA, and we
Yeah.
economic development helped us a little bit, and then we had a private investor that helped us a little bit, but the majority came through the Napoleon State Bank and SBA.
Right.
But since then, the private and the other have all been paid off. So Laura Littmer, Ford Abstract. I remember that day when we sat in your office. And sat in your office, and sat in your office.
You knew who you were that day. Signed your name enough times, you knew.
Paper after paper after paper. And it was quite interesting. Now, what did you have to go through to get everything ready for us?
Once Joe's team gets their plan in place, then they reach out to us, and what we do is we research the real estate itself, not really anything to do with the business per se. Make sure that who says they own it do rightfully own it, and they have the right to sell it to you. If they have any mortgages or liens on that property, that gets paid off at closing. So when you take over, you're free and clear, and take over with Joe's loan, or loans are in first position with SBA.
So now, does the person that's signing the paperwork, they don't necessarily know the payoff that the other person has, do they? When they
As a buyer with a seller, not normally. A lot of times you're shown paperwork that just shows it's being taken care of and satisfied. Some transactions, buyers and sellers will see each other's sides, and they're okay with that, because you do want to make sure that, hey, the title work is showing you've got 2 mortgages on here, so on the closing statement I only see 1. So what's happening with that second? Is it being paid off, or is it forgotten about? So a lot of times you will see both sides of things, just to keep everything transparent.
And I know at the closing on that day also was Laura Williams, who handled our affairs for us with the FCC. We had an SBA representative there, and we had one other person. I don't know who that was. We were looking at a picture, Joe.
Right.
And we're like, who is that? I don't know if you'd know her either, Emily. But
I think it may be the other I think it may have been another representative from the SBA.
I think there was
I
more
think
than one
there
there.
was 2 there.
Because I know the one really enjoyed that Gene and Mark were outside with the tractor to represent the rural radio portion of what we are.
Right.
So, Laura did it in advance. Did it take a lot of work to get things ready for it?
It takes about a week for us to do the search of the property, type up the paperwork for Napoleon and for SBA. Because if I remember right, you each had your own loan,
Yes,
your each
right.
commitment type of thing. So, so what we did, we basically repeated, one for Joe's side, one for SBA side, and then probably another 3 or 4 days to get the final paperwork together, get it printed, copies made, stacks, stacks and stacks.
Then do you take the paperwork to the courthouse after the closing's done?
We do. Yep.
And everything has to be like sent directly to your office. Any funds that go into a closing.
We took all the loan funds into our escrow account. Then we disperse any payoffs, any taxes due, any of the attorney bills, any fees to the lenders. Then we take our fees out. We take the transfer and recording fees, and that's what goes to the courthouse to get the property transferred into your name. Then the documents recorded. the deed and the mortgage, so that's a public record.
And then it's done at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joe, let's talk a little bit about how you have expanded. The bank has expanded, and the most recent announcement was a branch in Batesville.
Right.
But when did the Napoleon State Bank first start?
I mean, it first started in 1903 in Napoleon. So, and actually, it was in a like a pharmaceutical or a little drug store is where it started at in 1903. The actual building is still there on the corner. The little small one was built it opened in 1904. So that's when that started. And then the main office in Napoleon, that where it's at now, that was 1978 is when that one opened, from the little small one catty corner from the bank there. So
which side are you going with when you say catty corner?
On the the northwest side of the four-way stop. It's a little gray belt. It's like it's right on the corner there, right before where the post office. It's right past the post office, right at the stoplight.
And that's still there?
Yes.
Okay.
And on the whole, and then we did that about a few years ago. We painted the one side of that building, and it depicts like historical time, like back in those days. But then across the top, it has pictures of all of our branches across the top of that building.
Wow. Okay. So then your first branch, you branched over into Greensburg. What was that process like to do that? What was it? What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, the main reason when we came to Greensburg was, I mean, like everything else, Honda was driving that. We knew Honda was coming, and we got the opportunity to purchase that ground. And I wasn't on the board at that time, but our board of directors at that time said, okay, we're going to come in and we want to let everybody know that we're here and we're here to stay. So that's why we built the branch that we did build. It was 6,000 square feet, with the basement and everything. And we thought, well, we would keep that all for future expansion, which, it has grown now. The main lobby we have, and that's where. But then we also use part of the upstairs now for our loan operations and processing teams. And it's been a very successful move. I mean, Decatur County's been very, very good to us. And we had a presence even before we were in this town. We had people that, from Decatur County that would come to Napoleon and get loans and have their bank accounts with us and things like that. And so it has really helped when we came here with that second branch.
So ag loans, were they probably one of the big drivers for the ag loan industry? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're a very strong ag bank, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in Decatur and Ripley counties, so that's kind of our main emphasis. I mean, we have done more commercial nowadays. We've gotten bigger, and so we do commercial as well, along with residentials and consumer loans. But yeah, ag still is our primary driver.
So then that first branch opened around 2007.
June 10th, 8th, somewhere in June of 2008.
Okay, and then how soon was it before you branched out to North Lincoln Street?
That was in 2019.
And then the opportunity came along to expand into Westport.
Well, actually, Westport was before Lincoln.
Oh, it was. Okay.
We opened up Westport in March of 19, and then we opened up Lincoln in June of 19, and then we opened up Milan in October of 20. So we did 3 branches in about an 18-month time frame, and that is a lot.
So how did you end up finding employees? Did you have employees standing by ready to go? Did you need...
No, we had to hire, and I mean, we was fortunate enough we was able to pretty well, get the people that we needed and get positions filled, and we've got some. I mean, here in Decatur County, we've got several that's been here, for a long time. I mean, we got some here. We've got 2 or 3, I know 2 for sure, that's been here since we opened, when we opened the branch that are still with us. And we've got several people that's got, we've been, 17 years now, and we've got some that's been there over 10 already. It's been over 10. I mean, so we do have a good longevity of people that hang around. that's a positive because people like to know that who's there and who they see.
Talking with Joe Mormon with the Napoleon State Bank and Laura Littmer with Ford Abstract. Now, Joe, then the recent announcement about the Batesville
Yes.
office.
Yes.
What was driving that?
We've had people request us to come to Batesville for several years. We've always looked at it. We've, talked back and forth, and we had an opportunity about 3 years ago to purchase some ground at a pretty reasonable price. We purchased that ground then, and then this spring or fall, the board decided that, we felt now was the time to, we got everything all put in place, so now's the time to expand and move to Batesville, which will be our 8th branch now. So, and hopefully that will be end of 26, beginning of 27. That should be opened and ready to go.
So now, where's it going?
It's out on 129, out like where Gilman Hardware is, across the road from there, and Moore Law Firm. We're right next door to them. So it's a subdivision. It's the front end of a subdivision. It's zoned commercial.
Yeah, that's a busy area.
Yeah, it's starting to develop and build up. There's new housing subdivision going in out there and everything else.
So now my next question, Joe, is how has the government shutdown affected operations of a bank, or have they?
It hasn't. I mean, not right now. I mean, nothing on our end. It hasn't affected anything in the banking side. I mean, the only thing where you would ever see that it could start is some of these people that if they're not getting paid, part of the government workers, if they're having trouble making payments and things like that's where we would see that. But as far as day-to-day operations of a banking system, it's not going to affect any of that.
Well, I know Laura Littmer, before we came in here, I was asking her about that, and she was telling me that, yeah, obviously mortgages that were...
Right, if it's a government-funded USDA loan, that type of thing,
Those
the
things,
approvals aren't coming through, the funding can't come through. And if you're wanting to sell or refinance and you have a USDA loan to pay off, we can't obtain a mortgage payoff on that. So that's kind of putting that to a halt a little bit.
So in this area, do you think there's a big widespread effect on that, or?
I don't think so. I've not really seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there is. I mean, it could be a few isolated instances, but not a lot that I could see that. The other side would be also if you've got some young farmers that are wanting to buy some farm ground and they're trying to get an FSA guaranteed loan, young farmer loan there to get, good for part of the loan and then come through the bank for the rest of it. Well, even if they had one scheduled, you can't do it now because they're closed.
Right.
So they could have one scheduled, but it'd have to be put on hold.
Right.
Is there a certain period of time then that would go away? Or can it just stay on hold indefinitely?
I think it would just stay on hold till they go. Because, if they've had the loans, they've probably already been approved. It's just they can't fund them because they're not operating, because they're not allowed to work.
They can't operate, they can't print their docs, they can't issue anything.
They can do nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, like the SBA, that also affects that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we had some, we don't right now, but if we had a couple SBA loans in the works we wanted to get done, we just have to put them on hold for right now until they get back.
Okay. So Joe Mormon, Napoleon State Bank, you've been there 42 years, did
41.
you say? 41 years, okay. I was aging you a year with that. And of course, Emily, let's hear your line.
I wasn't quite born yet.
Quite born.
She's revised it for you.
That's okay.
Well, years are different.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Time frames. Your time frame is different than his time frame.
You always just tell me you weren't born yet.
Nope.
Laura Littmer, I know you've got several years in your business.
I do.
Started with I believe your dad.
Mm-hmm. My dad, Marlon Wager, bought it in 1977, and I came on with him in 1987. We lost him in 2006, and it became mine, and the rest is history.
Did you know, watching him and what he had to go through, did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was something that I just clicked really well with him and with what he did, and yeah, it's such a blessing to do it in a small town like this. I would not have any desire to do this in Indianapolis, Cincinnati, something like that. I like to see the people, at Walmart that have been in my office, and you've seen them either buy their first home or sell their first home and move on up to their next one.
I think for both of you, it has to be as local as you are and as local entities. Just like you're saying, it's got to make a little bit bigger impact on you, being able to be here and see these people every day.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, back when we'd go on vacation, my boys were younger. They were always betting, okay, who am I going to see on vacation that I know? Because we would go somewhere, and I'd run into somebody in there. It was.
Yep. As my girls were going through high school, they'd come home and they'd say, "Is there nobody you don't know?"
Emily, you can't go anywhere, can you?
Not very often.
No.
Emily just went to Honduras.
Oh, okay.
Very
Just got
nice.
back from there with St. Mary's group, Joshua Mars. And,
You're part of that group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Food for the poor.
She was.
Yeah.
And so before, the longest broadcast for us here at the station was from Atlanta during the Olympics. Well, now Honduras trumps that because she was able to do a broadcast from there.
Oh, wow.
I was
That's
in awe.
fantastic.
Yeah, I was in awe because she's like, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun to do over there.
What'd you learn from that?
Oh, there's so much. It's just indescribable. So much.
So, while Laura and Joe are here, is there any baking industry or anything like that?
There's banks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
Because
I
you
don't
were in
know
you were in
it.
an area where they St. Mary's had sponsored
A
building
village.
a village. They built cottages, and they had sponsorships of the cottages.
Right. So they raised $1 million here to
Uh-huh.
sponsor that village. So I don't know how the financial piece of that works. It's interesting. They are the owner of their homes, and they're then responsible for the taxes in the village, but they didn't have to purchase their home.
Oh.
So it's a little bit different setup.
Well, it's interesting when you talk about that because you think in terms, is there a banking structure in place? Then when you mention taxes,
That's just like our property taxes. They have to continue to, have funding, and it's Cucamonga is a large city. This is just one village inside of it. So I mean, there's different economic classes throughout that town. Yeah.
Joe Mormon, the Napoleon State Bank. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to add to this morning's program?
No, it's been a good ride. Good. I'm glad to see you guys are still going. I mean, 15 years later, and like I said, there's always been struggles. There, just like in any industry, there's struggles, and we work through everything. And
I did notice that Linda Wagner.
yes,
That's no secret, right? She's
right. She will
she's
be
leaving
retiring, and she's been with the bank, and in September was her 50th year, which is a major accomplishment for anybody to be at one place for 50 years. I've told her she's safe. I will not pass that. I will not be there another 8 or 9 years.
Oh, I don't know.
That's not your goal, right?
That's not my goal, but yeah,
You're finding
she'll be
depth on that.
retiring in January. So,
But it's interesting though when you look at the longevity of how it kind of was in the past versus today, and sometimes that longevity of businesses is not possible for an employee based on whatever the business is going through.
right.
And because like years ago, Delta used to be the main player in town, and the longevity there was like incredible.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just interesting when you look at the differences with longevity now with your 41 years, and Laura, you're since 1987. You said since you were there. So, did you go in with your dad while he was working and like get under the desk?
Yeah, came in as a small child.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming in, Joe Mormon, Laura Littmer. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank
you
you.
two were both real, obviously, crucial in what happened here. Emily, thank you to you for your role, and I wish your mom was able to be here with us today.
Yeah, she had another commitment.
She did
today,
have another
but
commitment, and you, her, and Mark, and I, and going after our dream of owning a radio station.
Here we are.
All right. Well, if you want to hit that button, we'll be right back.